The fall sports season is right around the corner, and we have a lot to discuss. Field hockey, soccer, golf, football, and much, much more. My name is Ethan Plotkin, and thanks for tuning in to this fall preview edition of the Continental Countdown. Having turned heads in last year's NESCAC Championship Series and finishing as runners-up to Amherst, men's soccer looks to make an even bigger splash in league play this year, with all eyes set on an NCAA berth. League play will have to wait until a home match with Bates on Saturday, September 9th, as SUNY Oswego comes to town on Tuesday the 5th. Both games will be played at Love Field. Head coach Perry Nizzi, now entering his 20th year, leads the lads onto the pitch this season with 37 players, 6 more than last year. With the extra manpower, the boys in blue, led by captains Quinn O'Malley, Eli Morris, and Eli Lichtman, should easily kick, push, and coast their way to another bid for the NESCAC crown. Shout out friend of the team, Chicago native. I took a selfie with him. He's a samurai swordsman, Lupe Fiasco. Check out his Facebook page to see what I mean. Field hockey is undergoing some management adjustments heading into this season. Melissa Mariano, a first-team All-American during her playing days at Middlebury College, inherits a Hamilton team improving rapidly, finishing with a combined overall record of 21-12 the past 2 seasons. The women finished at number 13 in last year's final coaches poll, the highest any Hamilton field hockey team had ever closed a season. Mariano is no stranger to success on the turf, though, having led Franklin and Marshall to winning seasons in the past consecutive 8 seasons. That team finished with 18 wins in 2012, and the following year they reached the top of the NFHCA poll for the first time in that program's history. 2 of Hamilton's field hockey student athletes were selected as All-Americans last year, and though forward Eva Rosencrans has since graduated, junior goalkeeper Julia Booth, a 3rd-team All-American, hopes to lead the Continentals back into the national spotlight. We'll be talking to her in a little bit. Hamilton's men's and women's golf teams now have new leadership at the helm as well. Lauren Cupp, a Rome native and alumnus of the college, has served as a golf coach in some capacity since 2012, when she became an assistant for both teams, including the varsity women's golf team, which she helped to create. The men's team will be led this year by senior Joe Tagani, who enters his 2nd season as captain. Tagani is a perennial powerhouse on any and all of the links he encounters, finishing last year with a stroke average just above 75 in 16 rounds. The women's team is led by Libby Warner, who will play an abbreviated fall season because she is studying off campus during the fall semester. Both teams start the season on Saturday, September 2nd and Sunday the 3rd at Yanendossis Golf Club in New Hartford. The Gridiron Gang has been making steady improvements to their final records in the past 2 years. After finishing with winless seasons in 2013 and 2014, the Continentals recorded 2 wins in 2015 and 3 in 2016. On the defensive side of the ball, the team is led by defensive end Tyler Hudson, a junior from Whitesboro, New York, who was a NESCAC All-Conference first-team selection in 2016. Hudson finished the last season with 47 tackles, 4 sacks, and a forced fumble in his 8 games. For the first time since 1908, the Hamilton football team will play 9 games instead of the typical 8. Their season will start on Saturday, September 16th against the Tufts Jumbos, who finished 2nd in the conference last season. To the courts we go! This fall, Jamie King will take on coaching duties for the men's and women's tennis teams. King brings with him 17 years of experience as head coach for both men's and women's squash. The men's team is captained by seniors Alex Strike and Iyad Nagori, who will be joined by 9 incoming freshmen. The team will begin play on September 9th at the St. Lawrence Classic in Canton, New York. The women start their season that same Saturday, taking the court at William Smith College in Geneva, New York. Men's and women's cross country start on September 9th as well, winding through campus in the Hamilton College short race. The men and women's rowing teams will have to wait a while to begin their seasons, hosting opponents in the icy Erie Canal on October 1st. Both teams qualified for the postseason last year, with the women's varsity 8 boat finishing in 4th out of 7 in the national championship race, and finishing the season ranked 10th in the coach's top 15 poll. Up next, I got a chance to sit down with a remarkably talented student athlete. This field hockey star was a 3rd-team All-American in goal, posting a goals against average per game of 1.69, a save percentage of .794, and 4 shutouts last season. She played every minute of every game and already set team records as a sophomore. This week's Continental Conversation is with Julia Booth. Oh, sorry about that. I hope I didn't keep you too long. I had a prior engagement. So we've left the recording studio. We've moved into a different studio, and we're here with Julia Booth for our Continental Conversation. So that's going to be 5 questions for Julia, and my first one has to do with the impressive in-conference schedule that you guys have this year. You guys come into the season ranked number 15 in the most recent preseason poll. Of those top 15, 7 are in the NESCAC. You guys finished the season last year with an in-conference record of 7-3. I'm just wondering, who's your biggest competition in conference, and do you think that stellar record can be matched?
In conference, everyone's our biggest competition, so unfortunately can't give you a satisfying answer to that question. The rankings came out last weekend. Middlebury's in the top, Amherst in the top, Williams in the top, I think 1 or 2 other teams, Tufts, Bowdoin. So a lot of our games are going to be really, really tough and hard-fought games, and especially after beating those teams last year, they're going to be gunning for us this year. Gotcha.
Well, that should keep things very interesting. Number 2, so you lost a handful of really talented seniors last year, or this year rather, including an All-American, Eva Rosenkrantz. What kind of effect do you think that will have on the team's leadership and overall performance this year?
The seniors were really awesome leaders last year, so they were definitely tough to lose. I think everyone is just going to have to step it up this year as a team, and we've definitely seen that in the preseason to be able to work together on the field.
Gotcha. Number 3, the big storyline for the team coming into the new season, I touched on it during the countdown there, is obviously the coaching change. How does the team and Coach Mariano seem to be handling the transition?
We seem to be handling it really well, actually. She has definitely made a bunch of changes to how we play and to our pregame warm-up and stuff like that, but I think they're all good changes. It's nice to have change sometimes, and we're responding pretty well, and I think it should show out on the field in our first game.
Looking forward to that. Number 4, you have 4 freshmen on the team this year. How have they adjusted to the enhanced level of play? If you could just touch on what that means in the NESCAC, moving from high school to one of the most competitive, obviously, D3 conferences in the country. Yeah.
The freshmen have adjusted pretty well. I think it's hard to say before the first game because while we try and push ourselves hard in practice, the game is just always a bit of a faster pace. From high school to college, it's definitely a big step up, and I think that they will be fine. It's nice to get, we have 4 new freshmen this year, and it's nice to get their different styles of play, and from high school it kind of mixes things up within practice because we're so used to all the returning players and how we play.
Awesome. Number 5, and this is a more personal question. I mentioned Eva Rosenkrantz, who was an All-American. You were also an All-American, and I know you're a very humble person, so I don't want to toot your horn for you, but if I could just rattle off some stats, you were one of the best goalkeepers in Division III field hockey last season. Goals against average of 1.69 per game, a save percentage of .794, and 4 shutouts in 17 games. You played every minute of every game. How important is individual success for you, and what do you see as your individual goals for this season?
I think just like everyone, individual success is really nice, but as a goalie, my job is to stop the shots. You can't win a game without scoring as well. So I definitely rely on my defense, who have definitely limited the number of shots I've had to take, and the offense to score goals in order to be successful out on the field.
Perfect. Consummate professional, Julia Booth. So now we move into our rapid-fire questions, the Continental quick-fire questions. Roll the graphic. So that's going to be 6 questions. We'll give you 12 seconds to answer, and you win a prize if you get under 12 seconds.
All right.
To be determined later. Number 1, roll the clock. What's your hometown?
Greenwich.
Where'd you go to high school?
Greenwich Academy.
What's your major?
Environmental Studies.
What's your favorite type of ice cream?
Oreo.
What's your favorite movie?
She's the Man.
Oh, is the Tooth Fairy real?
Yes.
Wow. Julia Booth, we'll check the numbers in post-production. From my end, it seemed like she got under 12 seconds. Well done. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
And you guys are playing tomorrow night on Love Field.
Nope.
We'll be looking out for it.
Field.
Good Friend Field. We'll be looking out for it. Thanks to Julia Booth for stopping by to talk, and of course, thanks to Mary Caleb behind the camera. You can follow Hamilton Athletics on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and follow along live on game day at NSN Sports. This show goes on. Shout out Lupe once again. We'll see you back here in a couple weeks with more to discuss and hopefully some tallies in the W column. My name is Ethan Plotkin, and thank you for tuning in to this fall's inaugural episode of the Continental Countdown.